Do I need a non-disclosure agreement? My name is Andrew Ayers. I'm a business lawyer with offices in Minnesota and New York. And today we're going to talk about a really common tool for businesses when they're starting out, and that is a non-disclosure agreement. So a lot of times a business will come to me, they've just gotten started, and they have some great ideas about what to do next with their business. Now they're going to bring on either an investor, they're going to work with a new software vendor, they're going to expose their growing client list. But they're worried, what happens if that person I'm working with just takes my information and goes and sells it to a competitor? Well, these are the kind of situations where we want to consider using a non-disclosure agreement. The first question people always have is, what is a non-disclosure agreement? Well, it's going to usually come up when you have two companies or individuals who want to do business together. One or both of them have private information, private data, private systems that they want to make sure stays private. So again, your client list, your processes you use that nobody else knows about. And the point of the non-disclosure agreement is it's going to keep all of that information that the two parties exchange, that keeps it private, so nobody discloses it to the outside world. So if you're running a business and you're thinking about using a non-disclosure agreement, your next question to me is probably going to be, when do I need to use it? Well, for example, if you're designing an app and or designing software and you want to bring on developers, a non-disclosure agreement can make sure they don't take your processes, all that code you've created, and then just use it with somebody else's app or software. If you're going into a joint venture with another company and you're going to be sharing customer lists, you both want to have a non-disclosure agreement to make sure your customer list and their customer list is protected. If you're hiring a new employee who's going to have access to very sensitive information, again, like your customer list, and you're concerned that they may then work in sales for you for a couple months and then just take the list and go somewhere else, you want to use a non-disclosure agreement. And finally, if you're bringing on investors may want to see your corporate records. They may want to see all of these assets before they'll invest. You want to make sure you get a non-disclosure agreement from them so that they don't go telling your competitors all of the assets that your company has. Or more importantly, looks at those assets and says, you know what, there's a better deal over here on this other company. Let's invest with them and bring what we can over to our new investment. If you've never seen a non-disclosure agreement, it doesn't have to be 50, 60, 70 pages long. A lot of times they're really no more than 4 to 5 pages. And you want to keep it very clear and concise so that everybody who signs it knows what's in it. So some common terms are going to be, who are the parties, meaning who are the people that are bound by the agreement, what is the confidential information that's being protected, what isn't considered confidential. So if there's things that are publicly known, you can't try to make them confidential by using a non-disclosure agreement. What uses can the information be used for? So if you're giving somebody your customer list, what are they allowed to do with it? What are the permitted uses and what are the non-permitted uses? And then, as with any contract, you need a how long does it last, a term of the contract, so we know how long that non-disclosure agreement will be in effect. Usually you want to make sure it lasts beyond the end of your joint venture or the end of your dealings so that people are protecting the information further down the road for you. And then there's going to be other basic miscellaneous provisions you find in other contracts, things like collection issues, attorney's fees, governing law, meaning what state your non-disclosure agreement is governed by. Now, after thinking about this, you're probably asking yourself, do you need one? Well, if you want to protect your company's information, you want to consider using one. You want a clear description of what's confidential and what's not when you're dealing with somebody, a non-disclosure agreement's a good way to go. You want to make sure that everybody understands what the consequences are for violating the non-disclosure agreement. In that case, the agreement has to be clear, and that's another reason to use it with your partners. So they know if they mess up, if they disclose the information, they're looking at serious penalties. And then the other question people will always ask me is, how much is this going to cost? Well, it's going to depend on how long the agreement is that you're creating, how complex it has to be. But these don't have to be long 50-page costly contracts. We can use a short non-disclosure agreement to make sure to protect you and your company. This is not something you want to try to do yourself. You don't want to just download some NDA you found online and hope that it works for your situation. Work with a professional, work with an attorney who works in the space and can help you make sure to tailor your non-disclosure agreement to your situation. If you're going into a joint business venture in the agriculture world, getting an NDA from a website that deals with app developers with Apple is not going to be the best way to do it. Get something that relates to your particular industry. If you're not sure where to get started or you want to take the next step, you can go to my website, andrewmayers.com. There's a red button to set up a legal strategy session. You'll be taken to my personal calendar where we can set up a 15 or 20-minute phone call, and we can go through what you need in your NDA and give you some next steps to get started.